Hi, Kerry here, My Cloud Bookkeeping. If you haven't met me before, I work with business owners and entrepreneurs, helping them to keep their books in order using QuickBooks Online. When I returned from the QuickBooks Online conference last year, I shared the improvements to the bank feed, and I wasn't entirely fair. One of the improvements was significant, and that's the ability to allocate to products or services directly from the bank feed or the bank transactions list. Now, previously, if you wanted to allocate an expense to a product or a service, you had to separately enter the expense or the bill and then match that to the transaction appearing on the bank transactions list. Now, while I would still suggest that that's a good practice, the option's available directly now. So let's walk through the steps.
So here we are in the sample company, and normally when we come here, I'm not in the way, but I'm in the way today because I'm going to give you a little bit of explanation and behind the scenes about this products and services feature on the bank feed. Prior to recording the piece you just saw, I thoroughly tested and worked out all the steps and documented how using products and services within the bank feed works. Then I went ahead, recorded what you just watched, came back to do it again, and it didn't work. Not only did it not work, I got repeated error messages. I tried it in the US sample company, in live files, Canadian, the whole thing was broken. So finally now, a few months down the track, I have been able to get it to work again. So I'm going to caution you, if you want to use this, who knows what it's going to look like by the time you use it. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you how to use it, and then I'm going to show you how to find out what entries QuickBooks has made behind the scenes. So I'm going to get out of the way now. We're going to jump right into the sample company, and I would suggest if you're watching this, stay right to the end to make sure you really understand what's happening, because by the time you watch this, it could all have changed again, and you're going to want to be able to see what has happened in your QuickBooks to make sure that your inventory, your cost of goods sold, and everything else is accurate. So we'll switch to the bank feed, the bank transactions tab, and I'm just going to randomly choose an expense. Because it's the sample company and it's an exercise, I'm ignoring the description. I'm just going to go ahead and show you how this is working. So here we have an expense for $1,200, and I'm going to say that we purchased rock fountain. Product or service, it's an inventory item, rock fountain, $1,200. Now, previously it did some really awesome calculations behind the scenes. I'm going to show you what it does now, which is a little disturbing. So I've just added that in as an inventory item, $1,200. So I'm going to pop up here to categorized. I'm going to open up this expense here. Please ignore the description. Opening up the expense. I'm going to take this description out right now because it bothers me. And I'm going to go down to more here, and I want to have a look at the transaction journal. Now I can see that the amount has come out of our checking account and gone into inventory asset. And that's what we would expect to see. But I can't quite see what it's done with inventory. So we're going to go now and we're going to have a look in the products and services. So if I pop over here to, where are we? Sales, products and services. And then I'm going to go and have a look at our rock fountain. So here's the rock fountain. It has a sales price of $275. And in our books, it has a cost of $125, and we have 3 of them. So I'm going to run a quick report here. And we can see all of these make sense. We've got 3, we've got some sales, 125, 125. Now look what happens. We've just bought one rock fountain for $1,200. So obviously this is complete nonsense. And with QuickBooks using FIFO, first in, first out, when we come to sell one, we're going to have a cost of goods sold of $1,200 once we've sold the other 2. Like the whole books are just going to be nonsense. So I go back to my prior comment where I said you'd be better off to use a bill or an expense. But we're going to try and get this to work for us. So I'm going to delete this transaction right here because obviously it's garbage. So more and delete, and throw it back to the bank feed. I don't know if it'll throw it back to the bank feed when we're in the sample company, but we'll have a look. Now let's just say that that we actually bought 4 rock fountains for this $1,200. I think that'll make a little bit more sense. We pop down here to split, and then we can choose. So there's a category for if we just had regular expenses, but here is where we can choose our rock fountain. We can put a quantity of 4, and we'll put that at $300, which, you know, perhaps the price has gone up for them. We would know what we'd paid for it, which is why I think an expense or a bill is better, but we'll go split and add. Also, if we had any shipping costs or delivery or anything, we could separate those out. I'm going to put split and add now. And if we go up, we'll have a look at our categorized. We'll pop in, we'll have a look at the expense. Where is it? Here it is here. And we'll go once again to the transaction journal. We've got $1,200 out of checking and $1,200 into inventory, same as we had before. But more importantly, let's go and have a look and see what's happened in our products and services now. So let's go have a look at our rock fountain. You can see now we have 6, which makes a lot more sense. We're going to hit run report. And we have some coming in now at a cost of $300, which actually still does seem a bit high. Perhaps I was thinking the $275. Maybe I should have chosen a different amount, but you get the idea. You can see how it works when you are adding transactions in from the bank feed. I'm going to very quickly show you the better method to do this, and I'm going to go with this $800 here. So I'm going to say that we have a bill that we've gone and we've bought our rock fountains from somewhere. I don't know, who do we buy rock fountains from? Let's choose a vendor. Oh, none of these make much sense, do they? There we go. We're going to get them from Hicks Hardware. Grab our rock fountain, and I probably need to change this date as well. I did mention I started this a while back and we're still here. And normally they're $125. We've got 800 worth. So let's just have a quick look at this. Yeah, so we'd be buying 6.4. So why don't we get 6 at $125 and then add in $50 of delivery, because we can do that. Now we're going to use shipping. I'm going to say that was $50. Another good thing that we can do in here is tag this to a customer. So if we wanted to pass on the cost of the fountains and the shipping to one of our customers, we can tag that in here. So I'm going to say it's for Bill's Windsurfing, just for the sake of ease here. Bill's Windsurfing, and then we can save and schedule payment, or save and close, which is what I'm going to do now. So now we'll pop back here, and it's not going to match properly because I've had to use a different date. It's one of the challenges sometimes with the sample company. But we have a bill, and let's just see if it did pop up in here. The $800, here it is down here. So we can match it from the bank feed, which is a much better way to do it rather than to process it directly from the bank feed, because you've got your bill in front of you and you've got all of your information. Now, if we go and have a look at our rock fountains, we pop over to here and we have 12 because we just bought another 4. We'll run our report. And we can see that the 6 came in at $125, which makes so much more sense. So if you want to make sure that the inventory value is accurate, your cost of goods sold is accurate, I would really seriously suggest not using this bank transactions tab and this products and services. So as much as QuickBooks was saying that this is an amazing improvement, I actually don't think it is. I think you're more likely to make a mistake. And if you are using it, I would suggest that you be really careful about checking what's being put through to your books. While we're here, why don't we just pop up and have a look and see what happens when we do create an invoice for bill. So we're going to go up to an invoice up here. I'm going to use bill. So here's Bill's Windsurf Shop, and these 2 things have popped up, which is amazing. So we've got the rock fountains, which we paid $750 for, and of course the freight. So let's add these costs to our invoice and see what happens. Interestingly enough, the rock fountains have come in at what we paid for them, which is not what we wanted to have happen. We can change the amount right here, but I didn't expect that we'd have to. Yeah, this whole thing really does not work well. but it does enable you to carry it through. Now, where I think it might work a little better is if, for example, you were buying sand or rocks or kind of more consumable supplies that you want to track as a non-inventory item, but that you want to track as a product or a service. Your nuts and bolts, cans of paint, especially if you want to flow them through. But using it for inventory, I think it's just going to make more of a mess than anything else.
Well, that felt like a whirlwind exploration of products and services from the bank transactions feed. Ideally, you'll be entering these purchases as either a bill or an expense and then matching them to the bank feed. For those circumstances when the costs appear first on the bank feed, this is the way to categorize them directly. I should also mention I was unable to get this to work in the Canadian sample company. I'm doing this in the US version, and hopefully it works okay in the actual Canadian files too. Let me know if you have any questions, and do check out the video links throughout to get assistance more specifically on the particular sections. And if this was helpful, please do click like, subscribe, and if you haven't already, ring that little bell to be notified when I make a new video. If there's a topic you'd like to know more about, let me know. Cheers.